Now that we are all excited to learn about weather, we need to talk a little bit about your research and what that's going to look like. So, very important that we remember that we do not just Google our research. It's important that we get our information from good authoritative sites. So, here at the intermediate school, we use this website, phislmc.weebly.com. I have put together these pages for you so that you know that you are getting good, solid, accurate information. So this is what our library website looks like. We go to researching tools, teachers, and then we go all the way down to whole school since everybody's doing this together. And then your very first section on this web page is your research links. So when I'm in here, I have these 6 choices to pick from. Now, they each have a little something different. Most of them are going to be just your normal standard web page. So you can open a couple of them and then glance at them and see what you prefer to start with. So some of them are very long though. So we need to figure out what the best way to find our information is. So when you're looking at your list of research questions that your teacher is providing for you, then you're going to need to do all of these, but just pick the one that stands out to you most, something that you're really excited to learn a little bit more about. So I might be interested in, barometers. So my first question is, how are barometers used to predict weather? So when I'm taking my notes on this, we put our questions up here on the left-hand column of our Cornell notes. I am sure that this looks familiar to you, so you all would write this in. On this side, how are barometers used? And then as I discover my research, I'm going to take notes over here. Very important that we remember that our notes are not the entire paragraph that we find on our research. They are bulleted lists. They are short, simple statements so that you can very quickly glance at this page and pull that information back out when you need it. So I'm interested in using barometers. So I'm going to go back up and I'm going to have this whole long page to look at to see about barometers. Now that's an awful lot of stuff to read when I'm only looking for one specific thing. So this is when it's really important that we remember to use our Control F. So you're going to hit the Control button on your keyboard and the F key at the same time. So I'm going to go back to my research. I'm going to hit Control F, and then this bar shows up over here. Now I'm interested in barometers. That's what I want to see about. So there's nothing about barometers on this page. I can see that because that says 0 of 0. So rather than getting frustrated and clicking around onto a whole bunch of other pages, there is good stuff on this page. And you know that there's good stuff on this page because your librarian made you these links. So now we just need to find what's on this page that's so great. So we'll go back to our research questions. And maybe now I want to focus on air. So what's really important is when we research that we be a little bit flexible. So I'm going to use my Control F. I'm going to type in air. And oh my goodness, look at this. 16 times air shows up on this page. You'll see that it's highlighted every time it appears. And on the scroll bar, you can see these little yellow lines are exactly where they show up on the page. So you can just scroll right to them when you are finished reading the sentences around them. So you don't need to read this whole page. You're only reading the few sentences around where your highlighted words are, because that is what your basic research question was. So I did need to learn about air mass patterns and differences. So I'm going to go back to my Cornell notes. I'm going to type in air mass. And then over here, I'm going to start my bulleted list of items about what I learned about air mass. So you're going to put this in your own words, And every time you start a new thought, you're going to start a new bullet point. You do want to separate your topics. So you can either skip a couple lines like I've done here, or because you guys will have a pencil, what I always really suggest is that where I'm putting X's, you just draw a big squiggly line with your pencil to sort of separate that out, and then you'll use fewer Cornell notes sheets. So that's how we're going to take our notes. It's really important that as soon as we know that we're going to write anything down from a website, that we fill this information out as soon as we know, before we even write down our notes. That way we don't accidentally forget where we got our information, which I see happen a lot, and it's very frustrating because then you have to go back and figure out what site it came from. Because this site or this page only has information for citation of one website, every time I go to a new website, I need to get a new sheet of Cornell notes. So if I'm completely done with this website and I go over here and I need a different website, then I need to get a different set of Cornell notes from my teachers so I can keep all my citations the same. Couple of things about these sites. Do be aware that some of them are really, really long. So like this is 10 whole pages of this article. So again, that's where our Control F comes in handy. Please don't just read this page and think that's it, because you're not going to find a lot on that page maybe. So be sure you scroll through the article. The other thing is Weather A to Z is a page that's really a list of links. So here, when we're looking at what we're going to find, we're going to check out our research questions. And let's say I'm interested in wind. I'm going to go here and I can still use my Control F even though there aren't big long paragraphs on here. And I can type in wind, and that takes me right to the menus that deal with wind and highlight those for me. So you absolutely do not have to spend your time searching and digging. Your time during this research process is to be learning and taking notes. But the only way to do that is if you remember to use your Control F. And I think that is all that I have to share with you right now. So please be sure that if you have questions, you ask your teacher, or you can come to the library and I can work with you a little bit. Be sure you use Control F, and be sure that when you are taking your notes, they look like a bulleted list of items, and each website has its own citation. So I hope you have a good time researching, and I look forward to seeing all of your amazing instruments later today when you are ready to go test them out.